War and Betrayal. Throughout our history, many wars were waged for a lot of different reasons. Some are political, others are religious, and there are also wars that are made to prevent their nation from being conquered. Among those wars, it's inevitable that there's a traitor that will betray their allies. Hi, K Developer here, and today we're gonna talk about war and betrayal, and what does it have to do with my game. War can happen when two or more factions are not aligned with each other. In my game, I have added a faction system. These two factions are at war with each other due to conflicting beliefs, territorial wars, and wanting to have peace for their kind. If our player defeats an entity of one faction, that faction will be aggressive towards our player. However, if our player attacks an entity, no matter which faction it belongs to, it will attack our player. This has been on my mind before I even started making this game, although I was unable to implement it earlier because I still struggle with coding, to the point that I thought it was impossible for me to do it with my current skills. I'm now pretty happy that my plan will finally come to life. Now, why did I add Betrayal in the title of this video? That's because our player is neutral at first and will only take a side when you defeat an enemy. If our player decides to switch sides, for example, he first defeats monsters, he will be on the human side, and the humans will not attack our player and will only attack monsters. But if our player decides to defeat more humans than monsters, he will switch sides, and now the monsters will not attack our player. However, if our player decides to betray both factions too many times, both factions will now be aggressive towards our player and will focus on defeating our player before continuing to attack the opposite faction. There were a lot of times where I wanted to give up on this mechanic because this.
Why are you hitting yourself? Why are you hitting yourself? Why are you hitting yourself? Why are you hitting yourself?
I also had trouble in making them only be able to attack those who belong to the same faction. They were able to detect the opposite faction, but when they attack, their teammates also get hit. There's also the problem of they won't attack the player even if they got hit if their faction is not aggressive to our player. But I really wanted to add the faction system to my game because without it, I feel like it'll be barely any different from other existing games like Hollow Knight, Ori and the Will of the Wisp, Haiku the Robot, and many more. While that's not necessarily a bad thing, I think most people would rather play a game that they already have than to play a game that's very similar yet different from the one that they're used to.
But wait, there's more.
Another reason why I added factions is because when Monster Hunter World first released, I was amazed to see monsters fighting each other while you watch from a safe distance until one of them suddenly decides to charge at you for no reason at all. I was only able to play Monster Hunter Freedom United before the Monster Hunter World released, which is why I don't know if previous versions have that. I also love RTS games like Stick War, Clash Royale, and my personal favorite, Soul of Eden, where your faction faces off against a different faction and your armies will fight with each other. With all that being said, there is one big problem: flying entities. Currently, all the entities in my game are ground-based, and they can't do anything to our player if you spam pogo attacks or the judgment cut looking attack. This means that they'd all be helpless when I introduce flying entities like a harpy or some guy in a helicopter. There are three routes that I can take, and I need your help to decide which one I should take. But before that, let's talk about the things that I added to my game for the past 2 weeks. I'll explain the things that I haven't said yet and summarize the things that I already talked about. 1. I have added a warrior knight, or simply a knight. I don't know which one to call it yet. This entity belongs to the human faction, and similar to our spear knight, he also have a charge attack, but it's slower and deals less damage than the spear knight. Number 2. The skeleton archer can now dodge forward. Before this, the skeleton archer can only jump backwards, making it very vulnerable when cornered. Look at this poor thing just jumping in place, not knowing what to do as our player inevitably slays them. Number 3. Entities will randomly stop while walking. Did they forget to check if the stove is on? Perhaps they left their wallet at home. No. I added the random stop so that they won't be in sync when they're walking. It's weird when two entities just casually walk at the same time and stop at the same time. Are they dating? Number 4. Faction system. Entities with different factions will attack each other and can only hit each other unless they're aggressive towards our player.
Number 5. I never wanna hear you say.
Retaliation. Entities that got attacked by the player will fight back regardless of their faction aggression towards our player. Number 6. Betrayal. If the player switches sides too much, both factions will be aggressive towards the player. Finally, here are the three routes that I can take for my flying entities. Option 1. Just don't make flying entities. Or if there are flying entities, make sure that they're away from a ground-based entity of the opposite faction. Pros. It's easy to implement. It can be explained in the story why they only appear when there's no enemy around. Cons. It's a lazy way to do it. I may also get questioned by players on why the faction leaders didn't think of using their flying entities to fight their enemy. Option 2. The flying entities will only target the player. Pros. Easiest to implement. Cons. It will make the faction system questionable and may also impact the story. What's their faction, and why do they only target the player? Option 3. Make the ground-based entities be able to detect and attack flying entities. Pros. It makes sense game-wise and story-wise. Cons. Ultra hard to implement. It may take me a month trying to figure out how to code this because I may also need to make the entities be able to jump, or they should just attack upwards. I will also need to add additional states like a jumping state and attack animations like attacking upwards. Please give me your suggestions down in the comments. I'll also welcome additional suggestions and try to see if I can do it. That is all for now. Thank you so much for watching. See you on my next devlog.